So I'll just splice this out on YouTube. Once this is all uploaded and everything, I'll make 3 separate videos so it's easier to watch. And let's go ahead and move on. So the evolution of the job market. So as I was blogging about, how to attract and retain top talent, and I was going through the numbers there, doing some market research, and realizing just the enormous cost. I mean, if you think about it, the average the average company in the United States experiences 15% turnover at 30% cost of the annual salary of whoever they lost to replace. That is huge. Right? The number spin to your average company, if it's a 200 employee and under company, they will spend almost just shy, something like $498,000 on just turnover and replacement costs. And we're not even talking about the loss of productivity, the loss of market share, loss of revenue, nothing of like that nature. That's not even included in the research out there, because that's just so complex, and it's ridiculous how high that is. And I was thinking, well, there's obviously ways that we already know work with attracting and retaining talent. And I thought back and I was wondering to myself, well, how did we get here? How do we get to this point where, value isn't valued in the workplace? It's valued as consumers, but even Southwest, which I love, years ago, they said their first customer is their employee. Just let that soak in. All right. Southwest years ago, I'm not sure if it's 100% true now or not as an organizational culture, but years ago, they said this: their first number one priority customer is their employee. And then it's their purchasing customers. That says something, right? And that's why, back when this was very popular in the business circles and research, they were making this huge deal how the CEO of Southwest could have a company picnic out in the open, no bodyguards, that kind of stuff, with all of his employees, because of that culture, because that company was willing at the time to value their employee as their number one priority customer. And that's something special to me. And I thought back on that and I thought of, okay, so how did we get here? We had World War II, we had all the baby boomers, everybody came back, and all of a sudden there's a starvation for human capital, right? Starvation for human resources. We need people to work various types of jobs, and we need to keep them around. And the economy was booming. And what did we do? We just kept giving people raises to help them stick around and afford a better lifestyle, to grow out their family, and so on and so forth. So that turnover wasn't crazy. There was also a culture back then, right? If you think about, our grandparents, if you're a millennial or a Gen Xer, our grandparents or our great grandparents, or even perhaps our parents' generation, right? They stick to what? One job, especially way back in the day. You had one company you stuck with, and you found your opportunity within that one company, and that was it. And as the generations progressed closer to the millennials, it became, you have one big job when you're young, and then when you make that level up bump to your management years, you have that second company that you work with if the first company can't have you. And then towards the twilight years of your career, then it's going to be perhaps another company, maybe something part-time consultative, or it might be a per diem thing, who knows. But that was accepted. You can switch around a little bit. You didn't have to be 100% loyal to that company. And then we started moving around, and we started realizing that, company loyalty was based on the fact that companies needed human resources. And that switched pretty soon. It went, instead of being a employee's job market, it became an employer's job market. And they started being selective about the qualifications, the education, and the experiences that a prospective employee had. And so everyone went to college, and so their bachelor degree became the new high school diploma, right? And then pretty soon the master's degree became the new bachelor degree, and pretty soon, right now, the doctorate degree is the new master's degree, and the double doctorate or the double graduate, if you have two different graduate degrees from two different disciplines or industries, that is now your new doctorate. And now your new double doctorate is you have to have not only two doctorates, but a whole host of other credentials that probably take a sum of 15 to 20 years to even complete, which is ridiculous to entertain for a Gen Xer or a millennial. And when we think about this, we've come to that point of education saturation, right? There's so much information out there. At the same time, we don't really need to be formally educated on certain matters, because there's Wikipedia, there's Google, there's all sorts of, even UpDoc Media is teaching you certain things about business principles, about the healthcare industry, about networking, branding, marketing. There's so many resources, so many people willing to share generously to build a community of value, that formal training is quickly becoming not so much the case. And you're starting to look at certain job descriptions and roles and responsibilities on the job boards and the HR resources out there. And what are they saying? They're saying, well, bachelor degree preferred. But what do they want? They want somebody who's been at the front lines for X amount of years. And it's no longer necessarily X amount of years of experience. It used to be. You have to have perfect experience, perfect job record, exactly 10 years as a mid-level manager. You had to have gotten your MBA in the same time frame, and you have to have a strong track record of X, Y, or Z. But that's also going away because those candidates don't exist, right? Those type of candidates have already moved on to CEOs, or they have struck it rich in the entrepreneurial world and they've moved on. So where is the job market evolving to? In my opinion, it's starting to regress, or maybe not regress, but I think it's starting to refocus on specialty, because being well-rounded was this big deal, right? And it still is today. And I agree that it's important, but there are other ways that people can be well-rounded to be properly socialized, blah, 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 blah. But from an economic standpoint, from a business standpoint, where I need human resources to actuate certain business processes, to provide value to the job, to the marketplace, for consumers to consume, and for commerce to resume and to sustain. It's not so much about well-roundedness. It's just about specialty, right? It's about, can you do this job, right? Can I plug you in right away, not spend terrible amounts of time to train you and to elevate you? You're already ready to go out of the box. That is, in my opinion, the future, the next evolution of the job market. You're going to see that more and more, even old school organizations and corporations that usually have a very strict HR requirement for new entries, they're going to lax that a bit. It's going to be, well, bachelor or master preferred, 4 to 5 years here preferred, but then certain coding experiences mandatory, certain accounting principles and whatever mandatory, of a portfolio demonstrating these amount of experiences and levels of success, intensity, and quality mandatory. Those will be there, but some of the other qualifications are going to go away, and that's going to shift into, my opinion, is going to be a professional trade type schoolings, or people go down specialty tracks, because it's just more economical that way. Because how many millennials can possibly afford $40,000, $50,000 a year for a bachelor's, when that may not matter down the road, for your job market? So keep your eye out for these kind of things. We're already in the thick of it, so we don't get to experience what we think is going to happen later. Right now, my biggest suggestion is, if you're already down a track, stick with it, because it is going to be the years of frontline experience that matters the most. If you want to make a move up, depending on your industry, if they respond favorably to increased credentials, then go for it. If not, then you need to up your game, as in your skill level, whatever that means. Engineers actually have a certain level of tracks for that. In healthcare, it can be clinical credentials. In business, you can get a CPA, that kind of stuff. Or if you're in media productions, you need to demonstrate a higher level of skill set in producing whatever type of medium you have. So that's where we are right now. If you are entering the schooling phase, be it bachelor's, master's, graduate, or professional school, it's time to market now, because it is not about what you know, because everyone knows what you know. Everybody knows the same thing, which is why these degrees don't matter anymore. Not as much as they used to, right? Because it used to be high school diploma only, you get paid this much. But if you graduated from an Ivy League, that much. That's not there anymore. It's all down here. Everything starts at this entry level now, and they want years of frontline experience or demonstrated skill sets of excellence. So if you're coming into this field of education, or if you're getting into the application phase of professional schools, make sure you start networking now. Get on social media. Get on different communities, whether it's Facebook or if it's blogging communities, whatever it is. get in there. I can't tell you how many people that I've either befriended or I have mentored in some fashion or another have gotten jobs practically before they graduated because of social media. So there's that. And otherwise, if you're in it like me and you made a career change, which is going to be completely normal for millennials, and I think I want to say the average is going to be like 5 to 8 or something like that. We're going to make career changes that many times by the time we're done with work, and we're just done. So if you're in the midst of a career change like me, going from clinical to business and media production, what you need to do is just realize that it's going to be a humbling experience. It's going to require a lot of grinding because you're literally starting over. But the thing is, the friends you've made, the networks that you've made along the way are going to be more than willing to help. So if you're thinking about a change, make sure that you keep those networks strong. You don't want to alienate anybody just because you're done. I'm done with this part. I'm moving on over here. Goodbye. Have a nice life. That's a good way to start over and fail. But if you keep helping people out, if you're generous, you're kind, you're compassionate, you're genuine. I think I already said that, but you're identifiable and people like you. That's going to help the most if you're starting over. And so many people are. Actually, a lot of baby boomers are. And I feel bad because they were on the road to an early retirement, and then 2008 happened. So that's this section of the blab. I'm going to go ahead and change the title for the last bit, so just bear with me